rejected? If so, you know how badly it hurts. It can kind of wreck you, but it doesn't have to. Today, Rebecca and I are going to share with you 5 things you can do to help overcome the emotions and even those thought patterns that can hold you back and bring you down the next time you face rejection.
Right, because the thing is, God created us for community, so it's natural for us to want to fit in, to be wanted, to be part of the tribe. But when that doesn't happen, then our hearts and our minds can race in 1,000 different directions, often unhealthy ways. And instead of overcoming it, then we end up getting sucked down because of it.
Yeah, and I know it's happened to me more times than I can remember, but what I do remember is how humiliated I felt.
Yeah.
You know, we've all been there, right? Standing, unpicked, unwanted, all alone, and it's a very painfully lonely place to be when you've been rejected.
Right. So here we go. Let's look at 5 things that you can do the next time you feel rejected.
And number 1 is, which is probably the hardest one to do, and that's take an honest evaluation of yourself. Is there any obvious reason why you were passed by? Are you qualified for the position?
Yeah, and are you ready for the consequences, whether good or bad, that are sure to come if you were chosen? Can you handle the success, the position, the workload, the pressure of the platform?
Yeah, and okay, here's the hardest one, I think, is evaluate yourself honestly and see whether or not you've had some kind of attitude or behavior that others see in you that would make you hard to work with.
Oh boy, that is really, really a good one.
Yeah, that would be extremely hard. And then finally, are there some skills that you need to hone so that you can be placed in that coveted position once you are ready for it?
Right.
You know, I think about David. David was such a good example of someone who just wasn't quite ready yet. He felt the sting of rejection from his family, from King Saul, and from others. But it was during that time that God was really preparing him for the position that he wanted him in.
Yeah, that's really good. And you know, sometimes we just don't know. The Bible is filled with people who experienced rejection. I mean, think about Joseph, not Joseph from the Old Testament and not Joseph, Mary's husband, but Joseph, aka Barsabbas, aka Justice. In Acts 1:23 through 26, we read about the story about when the disciples, they had to pick a new person to take Judas's place. Listen to what it says. And they proposed 2, Joseph, called Barsabbas, who was surnamed Justice, and Matthias. And they prayed and said, "You, O Lord, who know the hearts of all, show which of these 2 you have chosen." And they cast their lots, and the lot fell on Matthias. I mean, can you even imagine what Joseph must have been thinking at that point? I mean, probably the same questions that you and I would have if that had happened to us. I mean, what was it that the Lord saw in him that they did not see in me? I mean, what made me unworthy? I would certainly be asking that question.
I would too. Wasn't he good enough? Did he have some kind of secret sin or some kind of pride that plagued his heart? You know, was God protecting him maybe from some kind of circumstance that he wasn't even ready for?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And on top of that, now what are others going to think about him? How could he face them knowing that the Lord chose someone else for the job instead of him? I mean, there's so many questions, but here's the thing. We have absolutely no answers for them. The Bible does not tell us why he was chosen. We can only assume what he felt.
Right. But get this. Tradition tells us that Joseph went on to be the bishop of Eleutheropolis. Now, I don't know if I said that right, but we're going to go with it.
That was pretty good.
But he died a martyr there. And if tradition holds true, his rejection was really just a bump in the road on his way for God to use him in a way he had not planned or expected.
That's so true. So number 1, evaluate yourself. Number 2, analyze your motives. I mean, why is it that you want to be chosen so much? Are you willing to be humble, to die to self, to put others first? Are you trying to make your name known, or do you want to make his name known?
Ooh, that's a hard one to answer for some of us sometimes.
Right.
You know,
we really do have to ask ourselves that question because it's so easy. Maybe we don't mean to start off that way, but then when we really get down to it, we really discover, I just want this because I want to be famous.
Right, because I want to be famous, or I just want this because I want it. You know, Cain is a very good example of someone who was rejected because he had the wrong motive when he offered a sacrifice to God. He was so full of pride that he wanted to go to God his own way instead of going to God God's way. So number 2 is really important to analyze our motive.
Right, for sure.
And then number 3, think of others. You know, when someone else is chosen instead of you, perhaps it's for their good. Perhaps God has seen some kind of need in their heart or in their life, and he's blessed them with this heavenly yes.
Yeah. And he may have chosen them because he knows that they can minister in their sphere of influence. It might not be the same sphere that we have. And God knows that those people need that influence right now.
That's such a good one. So be happy for them, support them, let others know that you esteem them better than you esteem yourself. And here's a thing to think about, which was a big eye opener for me. If you're kind of jockeying for a position that you really want badly and others are wanting that same position, if you were chosen, that means they would feel the sting of rejection. So think of others, because they would have felt left out and rejected as well if they had been the ones that were rejected.
Yeah, that's right. Which actually the Bible tells us to do that, which you kind of alluded to it. In Philippians 2:3, it tells us, do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility, count others more significant than yourself. So number 3 is to think of others.
Number 4, trust God. God is God, and we are not.
True that.
So, he knows all. He sees all. There is nothing that escapes his view. No heart that he does not see. No pain that he is unaware of. No promotion even that he does not either allow or ordain.
So therefore, we can rest in the sovereignty of God, that when we humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God, that he will lift us up in his due time. It may not be where we think or what we had planned on, but he will lift us up, he promised.
Yeah, so in the meantime, trust God and rest in the fact that he filters every event in our lives through his loving fingers. I think about Leah in Scripture. She was such a great example of someone who experienced extreme rejection by her husband.
Oh, understatement. That story always makes my heart hurt. I don't like that story, but I'm thankful for her.
I'm thankful for her example of how she handled rejection. Her dad actually really tricked Jacob into marrying her when Jacob really wanted Rachel. And so when he woke up the next morning and there's Leah instead of Rachel, Leah felt that sting of rejection like we couldn't even really imagine.
Yeah, I can't imagine how that must have felt. But what's really cool about Leah is that you can tell that she still trusted God in the midst of it when you look at what she named her children. Listen to this from Genesis 29:32, right after her very first son was born. It says, and Leah conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Reuben, for she said, because the Lord has looked upon my affliction, for now my husband will love me. And she never stopped hoping that Jacob would love her. But in the midst of that rejection, she trusted that God saw her and that he was with her. So number 4, trust God. And then here's number 5, keep going. Don't give up. Although not every door is ours to walk through, there are doors with our names on it. And when we seek to know the Lord more, we will come to know his will more. And then we'll know which doors are ours to walk through.
That reminds me so much of a quote by William Carey, one of my favorite of all time quotes. And it is this: attempt great things for God, expect great things from God.
William Carey is such an amazing person. Listen to this. So in his attempt to reach India for Christ, he lost his son and his wife. And then on top of all of that, he lost years of Bible translation for the Indian people when his house burnt down, not once, but twice.
He went through so much. And what was crazy was the rejection that he experienced, because his mission board, they were totally against him going to India and reaching the people of India. His fellow pastors thought he was wasting his time. It was crazy for him to go. Yet when he died at the age of 73, he had seen the scriptures translated into 40 different languages.
Amazing.
He had become a college professor. He founded a college in India. He was very much involved in seeing this edict passed that prevented what's called sati, and I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it, but it was where widows would be burned on the graves of their husbands. And he was very much involved in seeing that come to an end.
Wow.
And he also saw many, many converts come to know Christ. So he just kept going. So listen, keep going. The Lord is not through with you yet.
That's so good. William Carey was an amazing man. And when we think about people in the Bible, Joseph in the Old Testament, he was an amazing example of someone who had been rejected, but he just never gave up. He kept his eyes on the Lord. And it didn't matter what he experienced, that wherever God put him in the different ways he was rejected, he's just embraced the moment and he kept plugging on.
Yes. And in fact, in the end, kind of toward towards the end of his life. His dad had died and his brothers were all standing before him. And he was second in command to Pharaoh, so he had all this power. And his brothers thought, okay, he is going to wield his power against us now.
Yeah.
He's going to get back at us for selling him into slavery. But listen to Joseph's words in Genesis chapter 50, verse 20. He says, but as for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good. There's so much wisdom in having a perspective like that.
Yeah, and let's not forget our greatest example. I mean, Jesus understands what it feels like to be rejected. In John 1, listen to this. He came to his own, and his own people did not receive him.
In Isaiah, when it was prophesying about Jesus, Isaiah chapter 53, verse 3 says, he was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain, like one from whom the people hide their faces. He was despised, and we held him in low esteem. So he experienced real rejection.
Yes, and because he knows what it feels like, and because he loves us, God does not minimize when we experience rejection, but instead he reminds us that he will never reject us. I love what it says in Isaiah 49:15. Can a woman forget her nursing child, that she should have no compassion on the son of her womb? Even these may forget, yet I will not forget you.
Oh, what a beautiful promise. Now listen to this. While we might experience the sting of rejection, and rejection may not be good in and of itself, our God promises us that he will work together all things and cause some kind of good to come out of even rejection. In Romans 8:28, you may be familiar with the verse, it says this, and we know that all things work together for the good for those who love the Lord and who are the called according to his purpose.
Yeah, I love that verse
keep
so
going.
much. That's right. Keep going. So let's talk real quick, just 3 reasons of why this even matters.
Okay, number 1, I think it's important that we know how to handle rejection. Because knowing how to handle rejection when we face it can determine whether or not you're going to be better for it or bitter because of it.
For sure.
And then number 2, I think it's important that we know rejection is part of the human experience, because that can help us understand that we're not alone in this. We just gave you a list of just a handful of people who experienced rejection in the Bible, but throughout history, it's been that way.
Absolutely. And listen, it's true. It does make you feel better. I guess the statement, misery loves company, I can totally relate to that. It does make you feel better.
It does make you feel better.
Yeah,
You're not alone.
You're not alone. And then number 3, being equipped to handle rejection can give you a better and a proper perspective of it when we face it. There you have it. 5 things that you can do the next time you face rejection. Number 1, take an honest evaluation of yourself. Number 2, analyze your motives.
Number 3, think of others. Number 4, trust God.
And number 5, keep going. Well, before we leave you, we'd like to give you one last thought to consider. Perhaps the no you face today is a necessary step to the bigger yes that you will experience tomorrow. See you next time.